Lift and roll your shoulders. And just sway a couple of times from side to side. Feel that you're leading with your navel, turning from side to side. You can lift your heels to help in that side to side movement, but how much you raise your arms is up to you. It can be a gentle sway, or it can be a much more vigorous side to side. And when you bring your hands to your shoulders, you're going into Yantra Yoga, which is the medicine side of Tibetan yoga. So it has a more therapeutic benefit. And then just very gently come to the centre. And we're going to start with the first immune booster, which is boosting the lungs. So we're going to do the upper, middle and lower lungs, clearing them out. And just one of these practices on its own is said to completely boost your system and rejuvenate, but we will do all three. So standing with your feet hip width or comfortably apart, you can breathe in and out through your nose. If you're going to be very classic, you can breathe out through your mouth, but you're breathing in and out at the same length of time. So just join in with me when you feel that you've got the hang of it. So breathing in. Next on the last one. And then just go from side to side, swinging your arms high. You can lift your heels. The recovery or compensation poses are almost as important as the actual movement itself. So the other slight thing to mention is that the lymph system connected to our immune system, the energetic pathways, need to be moved. They don't move themselves, and so all these movements, particularly under the arms as you're freeing off under the arms, connects into the immune system additionally. And then just swing your arms from side to side, up, to and backwards and forwards, and then just lift your shoulders a couple of times. One shoulder and the other shoulder. And do you have a preference? There's some people prefer one at a time because you activate one side more than the other. And then just lift and roll both shoulders back. Press your feet into the ground. Breathing in, raise your arms to the side. Clasp and reverse your hands. And then just go to one side. Come to the centre. And then just go to the other side and come to the centre. Turn to one side. You can pulse the movement, turn to the other side. And then press your feet down, stretch up. You can look up, but only if this is good for your neck. And then bring your head back to the centre and try lifting your heels. Test your balance. When you balance, you're inviting the left and the right brain hemispheres to communicate with one another. Lower your heels and lower your arms to shoulder height. Breathing out, turn to look beyond the third finger of one hand. Bring your head back to centre and breathe to turn and look beyond the third finger of the other hand. Come back to the centre. Just turn your palms up and see what flexibility you've got with your movement in your shoulder socket. And then just turn your palms down and release your hands, and then lift and roll your shoulders. And I'm just altering, I can see that one of my recording devices is not showing me completely, and it is now. So then just lift and roll your shoulders again and clasp your hands behind your back and aim your knuckles to the ground. So this opens you at the shoulder level, and it also opens your lung meridians. Just lift your hands slightly away from you, that stretches them even further, and turn to the left, so your hands go to the right. Come to the centre and turn to the right, so your hands go to the left. Come back to the centre, and then optionally you can bend your knees and bring your hands up. You don't have to do this. Make sure your head is down before you lift your hands. Press your feet down and come up to standing. Just shake your hands and then lift and roll your shoulders. And press your hands together. Now, if this is difficult to go into reverse prayer, then don't worry, because you can always hold your wrists or hold your elbows. And then turn to the left, come to the centre, turn to the right, come to the centre, and then optionally you can come forward. Press your feet down to come up, release your hands, and then bring your hands by your side and lift and roll your shoulders. And then stepping again with your feet slightly hip-width apart. This is the second lung exercise. Bring your hands like little fists loosely underneath your armpits, and feel free to adjust that at any point. So this impacts the middle lungs. You can even let your elbows touch against your ribs, so this connects into the intercostal muscles. And hands underneath the armpits, again, additionally activates and creates space in the lymph for the energetic pathways. But you'll find that you need to adjust as you're going. So join in with me when you're ready. I'm breathing in and out in the same way, either through the nose, or you can breathe out through the mouth. And you're breathing in equally in and equally out. And last one, and release your hands. And once more, just compensate by going from side to side. The physical movement, almost connecting your elbows to your rib cage, creates a vibration, and that again is creating a movement wave within your body. So it's incredibly helpful. It's anti-stagnation, because illness and disease, stagnation is what can cause things to accumulate in the Ayurvedic, that's the medicine side of yoga, in the Ayurvedic principles of health. So this is all anti-stagnation. And then just swing your hands once more from side to and fro, backwards and forwards. And then just either one at a time or just lift and drop. This lifting and dropping activates energy to go up into the head. And particularly in the Western world, we've got a number of, they call them, classify them, illnesses of the, or diseases of the head. So this movement is very much against those illnesses of the upper head, and they include all the dementias, for instance. I think there are 8 dementias and Parkinson's. It just connects and unites your emotional body with your physical as you get the energy to move up. And then just lift and roll your shoulders, come to your feet comfortably hip width apart. breathing in, raise your hands up, and once more reverse and go up. Press your feet down, stretch the back of the hands up, and actually look up as well, so that you almost come into a back bend. The lifting of the chest is uplifting for the mood, which I think possibly we all need on a day like today. And then bring your head forward. And once more, just go to the side. If you can think about it, not always easy, and I don't always, the head should come to the middle so both arms could stretch. It's very easy to let one arm drop. Having said all that, I'm not necessarily, I can forget too. And then just turn to the side, come to the centre, and then turn to the other side, and then come to the centre. And then just bring your hands outwards, and just turn from, look over one shoulder, one hand, centre, and then over the other. Come to the centre. Bring your hands down, lift and roll them, and place your hands on your waist. And you might want your feet a little bit wider than hip width apart. The second you bend your knees, you'll feel your abdominals engage slightly to support that movement. And so particularly with anyone with a weak back, it's quite useful to engage, even if only very gently in the core, to activate those core muscles, which are very much part of defence within the martial arts and certainly the Kerala warrior system. So you can just bend your knees. Your bottom, if it goes away from you, will bring weight, balance weight, not to go on the front. You bend your knees as little or as much as you like. And you can look down. The classic of this is a chair pose, which I find quite tricky to lift the arms up because it stretches into my lower back. So you can keep your hands on your waist or try a chair pose, and then come up, and then lift and roll your shoulders. And then from there, just clasp behind, aim your knuckles to the floor, and just sway from side to side. If you bring your hands slightly away from you, you'll stretch into your shoulders, opening more. But that's, again, easier said than done. And then just release your hands. And then just lift and roll your shoulders. And then clasp your wrists or your elbows. And again, go from side to side. Now, it's much more difficult to lift your arms away from you here. So the invitation is there, but again, I do concede that that's a little bit more tricky. And then come to releasing your hands. And circle your wrists upwards. Stretch your fingers. Circle your hands down. And stretch your fingers. Circle your hands up. This is very good anti-arthritis. Stretching out like this and stretching down. And getting the circulation into your wrists and your fingers. Just stretch out. Particularly if you're doing a lot of close work, computer work, sitting, anything requiring close work, it just opens up that energy. So arthritis in particular accumulates in the joints, not just the hands, it can go in the spine, anywhere in the joints. So stretching out creates space at the joint. And for that reason it is very helpful. If you particularly have arthritis anywhere, you can just, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, just pull slightly, one finger. You're just creating a subtle space at the joint level, and then again, pull, and then just move your hands. And let's just see how you're coordinated. Raise one arm and keep the other arm down, and then circle your wrists one way, and then circle your wrists the other way. So the brain has to do quite a lot to get all that in, and then release the arm, lift and roll your shoulders, and raise the other arm and circle one way, and then circle the other way. And release. For those of you who might be worried about the upper arms, as we get older, a very simple variation on many themes is to bring your hands together at the heart centre. I know it looks like a prayer position, but it really has no other, it just is a focus. But if you press your hands together, you'll feel everything along here just tightening, and then just release and lift and roll your shoulders. So breathing in, raising your hands up, breathing out, just spread your fingers to feel the air coming through your hands. So your hands link to your heart, and it's not difficult to see the connection. And the heart links to the element of air and to the sense of touch. And breathing in. This becomes a breathing exercise and a mindfulness exercise because you're coordinating your movement with your breath. And then take a quarter turn to your right and bringing your hands out, bringing your hands back to your heart, bringing your hands out, bringing your hands back to your heart, bringing your hands out, bringing your hands back to your heart. We're going to turn to another quarter turn, so you're facing away from me, and we'll do the same as we did before, arms up for 3 times. So arms up, breathing out, arms down. Arms up. If that's heavy on your shoulders, you just bend your elbows or don't come up as far. And then arms up and arms down. Take another quarter of turn and come to cactus arms, so arms up and almost back, and bring your hands down, out to the side and down, out to the side and down. And come back to the beginning, where come to the front and lift and roll your shoulders. So bring your left hand to your back, just holding your back. Have your feet comfortably hip width apart. Breathing in, raise your hand. The hand can be loose, it doesn't have to stretch right up. And breathing out, bend your knees and come to bend as little or as much as you'd like to. Ideally, your hand will touch the ground, but if not, just touch your shin. Press down as you roll up. Breathing out, come down. Up. Breathing out, come down. So this exercise, among other things, as we carry on a couple of times, clears your magnetic field. And we'll make the next one the last one. Come back, arms beside you, and then lift and roll your shoulders. And then the right hand goes on the back to support you as you lift up your other arm. And we'll do the same on the other side for a few times. Breathing out as you bend forward, that's a natural thing that you would do really, and then breathing in as you come up. Start the breath, then make the movement, finish the movement, and finish the breath. And if that's too much to remember, then it's something you tend to do naturally anyway. We tend to hold our breath when we're stressed, but in just a gentle fluid movement like this, you tend to just naturally Focus on the movement and the breath takes care of itself. And then make the next one the last one. Come up, lower your hands, lift and roll your shoulders, and come to lying now on the mat. As we come down to the mat, come, take your time. Let the breath settle. And come to lying in with your legs stretched out. So it's not going to be Shavasana completely, but it will be lying on the floor. You can bend your knees to shift your back and to get comfortable. Hands or palms down. And then circle your ankles one direction. Feet up to the ceiling and then point the feet away a couple of times. And then circle your ankles in the other direction. Stretch your toes and then just relax them. Bend one knee and then bend the other knee. So your feet are on the floor, your knees are bent. Bend your left knee into your chest and then bend your right knee into your chest. So you're hugging both knees into the chest. And just enjoy rocking slightly from side to side. Your head can join in the movement. You can rock a little bit or you can rock a lot. And then breathing in. Both feet go to the ceiling, both arms go up, they can be bent at the elbows and behind you, as little or as much as you would like. So like a bug on its back. Breathing out, hug your knees into your chest. Breathing in, both feet go up to the ceiling, arms behind. Check that your back of your neck is long, your chin's not shooting up to the ceiling. Hug your knees into your chest as you breathe out. Breathing in, feet up, arms behind. You feel that you can keep soft at the joints. You can keep soft at the elbows and soft at the knees. So you can keep a bend. Again, feet up. And hug your knees into your chest. Just again, rock from side to side. So focus on the lower part of our bodies. There are lymph nodes within the inner groin. So just circle both knees and you'll find that they come together and then they circle outwards and come back together. You're circling them in one direction, and this is opening or activating also at the inner groin level. Just keeping your hips flexible. Now your circles can be tiny or much bigger. You choose. And then whichever direction you've chosen, just explore reversing that circle. And then hug your knees into your chest. Slide your hands down your shins. Your arms might go on the inside and just hold above your ankles or at the lower shins so that your inner hips are opening and your feet are aiming vaguely towards each other. It's like a supine cobbler's or Baddha pose or Baddha Konasana. You can rock slightly from side to side and just feel the inner groin is open, but yet you're supporting your legs, they're not just hanging there. And take a breath in and out. Slide your hands up your shins, bring them to the outside, hug your knees into your chest, and support your legs underneath to place one foot down on the floor and then the other. So your feet are on the floor, hip width apart, your knees are facing up to the ceiling. And you can have your hands palms down or resting on your abdomen as you just gently sway your knees from side to side. How much you sway your knees is up to you. The greater the sway, and you're very welcome to open your feet wider than hip width apart. You're massaging across your bottom really. And there's a very huge acupressure point that you'll get if you sway quite wide. It's up to you. Your hips lift off the ground and your one knee drops to the centre as you sway. And then palms down alongside you. Perhaps bring your feet into hip width apart and just explore a pelvic tilt. So flattening your back and then moving in the other direction so there's a little gap under your back, your lower back. So this is encouraging blood, certainly along the spine, because you're just pressing down slightly, but your spine is being held by the floor or your mat. So it's a very safe movement. And then pressing your feet down, lift your bottom a little bit or a lot. You're coming into a rolling bridge. And then gradually lift your arms up, chin tucks down, and stretch your arms behind you. You lift as little or as much as you would like, and then breathing out, lower your arms and lower your back down along onto the ground. Hug your knees into your chest. Soles of the feet go to the ceiling, and the palms come together through that V. Hug your knees into your chest. Feet go down onto the floor, palms down alongside you. Flatten your back as you press down with your feet, lift up a little bit. Make sure your knees don't splay out. They're forward, and then lift your arms up, chin in, stretch out, and then start to breathe out. You can start to breathe out for quite some way, and your arms will naturally go back down again. You don't need to put any effort in. Your back lowers, and then hugging your knees into your chest. Feet up to the ceiling in a V, hands, palms together through the V, and then hug your knees into your chest, and feet go back down onto the floor. And last time, as you press your palms into the ground to lift you up, lift your hands up, hands behind, stretching out onto the arms. Breathing out, begin to lower your arms and your back alongside you. Aim to let both of them come down together, but again, easier said than done. Hug your knees into your chest, soles of the feet to the ceiling, your legs open in a slight V, palms together. Feel your abdominal muscles start to engage as you bring your palms together, and then hug your knees into your chest and place your feet back down onto the floor. Raise your hands loosely above you, bent at the elbows. They can rest on the ground, if not, don't worry, and just sway your knees from side to side and feel that you can have your feet wider than hip width apart. You can sway right over to the side if you want to, but however much you want to is up to you, swaying over to the other side. So this swaying movement starts to get in. It's the joints that age us, sadly, from one perspective, because the joints, if we don't move them through their full rotation, can, through lack of use, just there's a tiny amount of shrinkage as they're not used, and then that can pull on other muscles and just pull you slightly. We're talking about millimetres, tiny amounts out of alignment, and then you don't stack up properly. So this is one way to address that. And then bring your knees back to the centre, lower your arms, and then hug one knee into the chest, and then hug the other knee into the chest. Drop both hands behind your thighs. You can clasp your hands as well,
and gently raise your feet to the ceiling, bent at the knees, and just sway like seaweed in the water as the tide just laps. It's a very, very gentle, soft inversion. And then come to the centre and hug your knees into your chest. Still holding your knees, let both knees travel to arm's length. Breathing out, hug your knees into your chest. Breathing in, let your knees extend to arm's length. And do this a couple of times in your own breath length, hugging the knees into the chest and letting them travel away. So you can feel that we're moving up and down the lower spine. We're also connecting into the lower abdominal energy, so we're activating all the blood within the lower abdominal area and all the organs that you'll find there. So it tends to be a very soothing movement and very helpful for anyone with a lower back issue, but generally it can be very soothing because it connects into anti-pain. It connects into the Vata element in Ayurveda dosha. And Vata is responsible for pain, so it's soothing to pain. And if you look at it, it looks like a semi-fetal position. So then just rock from side to side. And really taking the time to bring your feet back down to the ground. We're going to be, in our own time, coming to roll to the side or come up to however you want to into a kneeling position. So however you would like to come up is good for you, but don't feel that you have to hurry. Come onto your knees, but we're going to be kneeling high. Take support if you need to. And if you haven't got any support handy, then just roll your mat up for extra cushioning. But this is hopefully very gentle. Coming forward is very calming for the nervous system. So kneel up, raise your arms up, stretch your fingers and look ahead. Breathing out, round your back, bend your elbows, and come to place your hands on the ground and slide your hands away from you so that you're resting on your elbows. And even while you're down and resting forward like this, just slightly engage your perineum and your lower abdomen in slightly, about 10% of your capacity, maybe 20%, so that your tummy is not just loose, it's just slightly toned or engaged. Slide your hands towards you as you kneel up, raising your hands up, stretch your fingers, breathing out, round your back, chin comes to the chest, which connects into the vagus nerve, so it's anti-inflammation, round your back, hands slide on the mat until your elbows are down, bottom goes up in the air, slide your hands back to your knees, use your hands against your thighs if you'd like to support you, kneeling up, raising your hands up, stretch up. You can look up if this doesn't disturb your balance and if you're okay with your neck, otherwise look ahead. Breathing out, round your chin to your chest, round your back, place your hands on the ground, slide them out, elbows resting on the mat, sliding your hands back, kneeling up. Make this the last one. Breathing out, round chin to chest, hands on the ground, sliding out. Just stay for an in and out breath with your bottom in the air. Just check that you've engaged your perineum slightly up your tummy, your lower abdomen comes in slightly. And then slide your hands back and come to seated position, cross-legged. And have your hands upwards on your, resting on your knees. And we're going to do, it's a left-right brain coordination. It also is a mindfulness exercise. And you can't do much else
otherwise you'll go wrong. You touch both hands, thumb to second finger, thumb to third finger, thumb to fourth, and thumb to little finger. And I'm going to say sa, ta, na, ma, which is the circle of life. Sa is birth, ta is life, na is death, and ma is rebirth. So join in mentally, don't have to say anything, but I'll just start. Sa, ta, na, ma. 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 And last one, sa, ta, na, ma. Just relax your hands either up or down. Take a couple of breaths for yourself to tune into where you are. Notice anything if you feel any different. Take a moment to have a thought for the day, your sankalpa. It can be for yourself or someone close to you. People, some more than one, you wish well, and just mentally think your wish a couple of times to set it in your intention for the day, and then bringing your head forward, slightly a bow for yourself. Bring your hands to your chest, and thank you very much for joining me today.